Hey everybody, I'm Zoe.
And I'm Chandi.
And welcome back to Bound by the Cloak, Minisode 2, Legends and Lore.
I like that name.
Really? Because I don't think it's that creative, but that's cool. Thank you. On the last Minisode, we discussed urban legends and lore and the stories behind them. We scoured the internet looking for more urban legends, and we even asked you guys to tell us about some of the legends and lore that you know, and you guys came through. So we present to you part 2 of Legends and Lore. On the last minisode, we discussed legends and lore from all over. A few of the legends we discussed, like the Goat Man and other weird cryptids, well, they were of interest to you guys, so we asked you for more stories, and you guys delivered. We also got in touch with Tex Wesson of Trinity Para-Cryptid Research. They are boots-on-the-ground researchers that have had multiple cryptid encounters. They do field investigations, and they talk to other researchers. Tex is known for his podcast, Tex's Front Porch, and his team hosts a number of other shows weekly. So we had a good discussion with Tex about his encounters with cryptids. So, yeah, without further ado, let's talk to Tex.
The Goat Man phenomenon is not just nationwide, but worldwide. You know, we get reports. Yeah, we get reports from all over. Of course, with me down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it started. I grew up with the Goat Man, the Lake Worth Goat Man, and what sets that apart by most reports is there were like 60 witnesses,
really,
at one time, and some of them were police officers.
Wow, that is really different then. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were there was a bunch of teenagers partying down to the lake, and the cops had shown up and everything, and then this thing made an appearance. Basically, walked out of the woods, basically screamed and threw a tire about, I think it was 200 feet or something like that.
So that's, yeah, I was gonna say, we need to know what this thing looks like. Yeah.
Well, supposedly, there's a lot of different descriptions of him. Some people say he has scales on his legs like a fish, the body of a man, except hairy, and the head of a goat. But we think, after doing some research and everything, and we think it's probably a Sasquatch that they saw.
Okay.
But it was according to it was like white. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, and it also attacked another either couple or it was maybe 4 people in a car, and actually left gouges in the fender of the car.
What? So how long has this thing been seen? Like, when do the first sightings date back to?
No, this was that big sighting, and well, it was in the late 60s, early 70s. It's been going on for decades. So, yeah, it's, and then if you go just north of Fort Worth, there's what they call the Goat Man Bridge, and there's been sightings there. And then there's also been sightings in Dallas too. And it's what we found interesting is they seem to travel, the sightings, they seem to track down the Trinity River Basin. And that falls into with what we've been seeing as far as Sasquatch goes, that they use the rivers basically as highways, because they can even travel through cities and not be seen. Because, a lot of times you'll have the rivers, and then they'll go, and then on the banks of the river, you'll have basically a green belt. Here in Texas, this thing can, there'll be miles of forest that these things can just walk through and never be seen, So it's, I always laugh when people tell me, well, something this big can't hide. and not be seen. Well, I was a tanker in the Army. I could hide a 51-ton tank in a stand of trees. Yes, big things can hide and you cannot see them.
What kind of evidence do you find in your research?
We've got photographic evidence, we've got footprints, hair,
Really?
audio. I mean, it we've got enough evidence to take Sasquatch to court and put him in prison,
Yeah,
but not enough to prove that he's real
that that's the
to
thing.
mainstream.
Like,
It seems like it's a long standing like legend of, the Fort Worth area. So how old were you when you first heard about it?
I remember the whole goat man thing being in elementary school and hearing about it. I remember swapping stories with my friends in elementary school about the goat man and stuff in Lake Worth. So I grew up hearing about this stuff, and but it was I believed it, and then you go through as you get older, I don't know, that interest kind of dropped off, and you get you get interested in girls, you got more important things to do. And then at 16, my life changed because I had an encounter.
wow,
And
so you really had your own personal encounter.
yeah, and I wished it was with a Sasquatch, but it wasn't. It was a dog man.
A dog man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was this in Texas?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was about an hour west of Fort Worth. We moved
Okay.
out of town and we moved out in the country. 12 years old, I would take a can of beans, my dog, in a tent, and I'd go, "Hey, I'm going to be out here. I'll see y'all in a couple of days." That's how it was, you know. And honestly, of course, I think you're safe out in the woods and you are going downtown, but so that was normal for me because our nearest neighbor was half a mile away. Because everybody owned these big tracts of land, and there was folks out there that own these huge ranches with thousands of acres.
That's
And
great. Yeah.
the thing about it is, when the way we grew up, you went and got permission from these people to be on their property. Well, but it was kind of a trade off because you were their eyes and ears
Right.
on parts of their property they didn't necessarily go to all the time. I'm walking down a white gravel road that bordered our place. Okay. And I was just about to jump the fence and make a beeline for the house, take a shortcut across the pasture. This thing I come out of the brush on my left hand side, about 25 feet away, and ran across the road in front of me, dove over our barbed wire fence and into the long, tall grass. Okay. The image that I have frozen in my head, and it's the image that I draw when I'm asked to draw it. It's the image that I draw. He's in mid stride and he's got his head turned and he's growling at me. And sorry, I get goosebumps every time I talk about this. But it he was what I thought then about he was taller than I was. And I thought he was about 6.5 feet tall for years. And then a buddy of mine and was at work and we was talking about this, and he goes, "Well, how tall was this critter?" And I said, "Well, Mike, he wasn't no taller than doorways right there." And he puts his
That's
hand on my chest. And this is a big guy. He puts his hand on my chest. He goes, "Heck, those are 8-foot doors." So, so he was probably about 7.5 feet tall. I misjudged him by probably about a foot. And he was black hair, covered in hair, but not real thick hair. It was kind of stringy, but it was about like it hung off his forearms about down to here, but you could see the skin underneath. Okay. And
jeez.
it
Yeah,
had
that's
he had like almost streaks of white or silver in it every once in a while, you know? And then on his head, starting like right behind his, like at his ear line. What we now know are believed to be like a muzzled hump. And that's what I thought was a mane because I just thought it was real thick hair. But like you'll see on a, like a grizzly between their shoulders. He was barrel chested, but he was narrowed at the hips. He was very muscular. His thighs were huge. And he had the arms and hands of a human. Human-esque, let me put it that way.
I don't know much about the Dogman. Where has the Dogman, like, I guess, what area is that sort of centered in?
We get reports worldwide of this phenomenon.
Okay.
There's been attacks, there's been fatalities. We're looking into a case right now, not far from where I had my encounter, as the crow flies, probably about 30 miles, which in the scope of things, that's not that far.
Right.
And it's a mysterious death because this guy took a shortcut through the woods that he always took to go to work, right? He went missing. They found him the next day. His throat was ripped out, not cut, ripped out. And there were scratches on the body.
Sounds like you've had, a lot of experiences and just a lot of tales to tell. I mean, how big is your team?
You got me, you got Jason. I have a remote viewer that lives in Georgia, and she's also a paranormal and
Okay.
Bigfoot researcher, Jessica Jones.
Okay.
And my 3 trackers. So that's 7 of us. And then Randy is our paranormal tech guy. So there's 8 of us. So, and there's also a paranormal team that we work with quite a bit. It's a mother and daughter team. And
Okay.
so if we had got everybody together, and then there's, I've got Kristen too, and then Bob. But so there's about 15 of us if we all got together, but we don't all get together at one time. It's just a couple of us would get together and go out and stuff like that. So, and then I got Rob up in Michigan, Bigfoot Michigan. Rob, he had a Bigfoot encounter, and he lives in Michigan. He's actually a co-host on my channel. But
I think if you could tell us your group and the work you do, and the name of it, and
the channel's called Texas Front Porch, TEX''S, Front Porch, because it's my front porch. And currently we do 5 shows a week. We have Mondays, we have flagship Texas Front Porch, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Central. And then on Tuesday nights, Jason does Untold Radio over Doug Hodge's channel. And then Wednesdays, we have Jason McLean Questions Everything at 9 p.m. Central. And he question anything. That's where you get then Thursdays at noon, we've got Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And Thursday nights, we've got Jason does Serial Papers, which that deals more of the biblical view of things. And then Friday nights, we've got Jessica Jones, and she does remote viewing investigations. Yeah, so that's what we got. That's our. And we're out on Facebook, So you can always find us on Odyssey Radio, iHeartRadio, Rumble, Spotify, the whole thing. So,
yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tex.
No problem.
So yeah, since we scoured the internet and looked for a bunch of posts and comments from people about local legends or legends that they heard of or had an interaction with, personally, let's just get into it.
Let's do it.
So one Reddit user posted, I'm from New Jersey, so The Devil's Tree and the Gates of Hell were really big stories. More local, as in I could walk there, would probably have to be the grave of Mary Ellis in the local movie theater parking lot. It used to be a U.S. Highway 1 flea market, but when they tore that down and built the AMC movie theater, they regraded the parking lot, and now she's a 7-foot high parking spot. The Looking Glass wrote the song Brandy about her. So they wrote the song about Mary Ellis. So as you guys already know, I'm from New Jersey. Chandi lives in New Jersey. Like, we're both in New Jersey. So I know exactly where that grave is. I know that movie theater. It's a pretty local movie theater. And yeah, basically there's parking all around the theater. And in that back parking lot, there is like this like high pile of like earth. There's a wrought iron gate, and there is a gravestone that's like 7 feet off the ground in the middle of the parking lot in the back of the movie theater. So yeah, that Mary Ellis thing is that's 100% legit. And I think the story is that this is what I've heard. So she was like in love with a sailor or something like that, or some guy who worked on boats, ships or whatever back in the day. And there's a river. And so she would go to the river every day to see if he was coming back, like basically to wait for him to come back from him sailing. And he never came back. And I think at the time she was also like living with her sister, and there was like a farmland. So they had farmland right where the movie theater is. And she died. She was buried on the property. All the, like owners of the property since she passed away, they've never like moved the grave, right? They've always left it there. Yeah, it's pretty much it. I don't know if there's anything else to it. I don't think she like haunts the theater. But yeah, the Devil's Tree in Bernard's. Chandi, you heard about that one, right?
Yeah. And also just going back to the Mary Ellis story, I was like, Zoe's going to know about this. I mean, she knows everything in New Jersey. Yeah.
My mother told me about that one. My mother was like, there's a grave over there.
Yeah, that's scary. But no, what's the Devil's Tree?
In Bernard's, which is like, we're in like Basking Ridges. This is also obviously still in New Jersey. There's this creepy ass old tree, and it's known for being like an evil tree. I mean, I guess it has like a really like sinister evil past. Not that the tree itself has done anything, right? Obviously, it's humans who have done things. But the earliest story that I'm aware of is that a farmer murdered his entire family and then hung himself from the tree. Bernard's is also known for back in the day being the New Jersey headquarters for the KKK. And the rumor is also that they did lynchings at that tree and like rituals in that area, whatever rituals or whatever stupid things they do. There have been like a bunch of suicides and murders that have taken place around the tree that have to do with the tree. Like, it's a secluded area. Nothing like grows around the tree. People have tried to chop the tree down with axes, and for some reason it's still standing. Like, there's like an issue. That's why it's the Devil's Tree.
That's a lot. That says a lot.
It is a lot,
right? I mean,
it is a lot. Yeah.
I mean, damn. Both of these urban legends have like some pretty horrible. Well, Mary Ellis's is more sad about her waiting.
It's very sad. Yeah.
Another Reddit user commented, in Florida, we had skunk ape. So we looked into what the skunk ape.
Skunk ape.
Yeah. What is the skunk ape?
Sorry.
So apparently, the skunk ape is a native of Florida and is also known as the Sasquatch of the Southeast, or the cousin of the Bigfoot of Florida. And it's an ape-like creature that lives in swamps in the Southeast USA.
So wait, where is Sasquatch or Bigfoot from? Like, aren't they from like Is that like Pacific Northwest or is that like,
Sasquatch soup.
do we know?
Um,
Sasquatch sounds very north.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense because Northwest, the cooler climate with the hair and all of that.
Right. Yeah.
And the forests.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, are there recent sightings of skunk ape? Or like, how far back do scump? Jesus Christ. How far? I'm not used to the words skunk and ape going next to each other.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the first sighting was in 1974 by a guy named Dave Shealy, who still continues to actually research the skunk ape. And he actually has a research center down in Florida, which is kind of cool, called the Skunk Ape Research Headquarters.
So why is it called the skunk ape?
That's a good question. I was wondering that. And
I've only encountered a skunk once and it was somebody's pet. So
yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah. Does anybody know? Let us know if you know what the hell. I don't know.
Yeah,
why they would call it skunk ape.
Yeah.
I mean, did you look it up or no? Did anybody Google it?
I did. Yeah, I still can't find it. That was like
I still can't find it.
That was the first question I had: is why is it called a skunk ape? Why is it called? Why is it? Yeah, skunk.
I guess the other thing is, what does it exactly look like? Does it look just like a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot, or is it somewhat different?
From what I've seen, it looks kind of like it looks like a smaller Sasquatch.
Smaller Sasquatch?
Yeah, not as big.
Okay, so this guy's like photo evidence of the skunk ape. I saw like a footprint he had, right? I saw the footprint.
Yeah, well, the also the photo that he has is, I mean, it is a little grainy, but
they're always grainy.
True.
They're always like these grainy photos of like it's like, is it man in bear costume or is it a skunk ape?
And like, okay, in one picture, it just looks like a huge gorilla, but it's shaggy, very tall, and it's like 6.5 to 7 feet tall. So,
well, shit, that's pretty tall.
And red-haired ape is what it's.
Red-haired ape.
Yep.
Okay. Huh.
So yeah. So
like, what area of Florida, or is it just like all over? There've been sightings. Is he the only person researching this? Have there been like numerous sightings of the skunk ape?
So it's in South Florida, in the Everglades.
Okay. Oh shit. Well, okay, that makes a little more sense.
It's like really in the swamps.
Yeah. So another Reddit user told us about Emily's Bridge. They said, "We have Emily's Bridge. Legend is some poor girl named Emily was heartbroken and died on the bridge. I've heard that she hanged herself or jumped to her death. You can apparently see her spirit there. She will scratch at your car, and people have caught photos of Emily." So with this story, it seems like the how she died and the why she died, the reasons why she died have also, like, they change from story to story. So this is another one where like the story evolves and changes, just like we've discussed before. I did look up Emily's Bridge, and this is what I found. So the bridge was built in 1844. It's in Stowe, Vermont. And the legend goes that Emily planned to elope with her lover, and they were supposed to meet at the bridge. The actual name for the bridge is Gold Brook Bridge. So it's a covered bridge in Stowe, Vermont. Her lover never showed up, and legend has it that Emily hanged herself from the rafters of the bridge. There have been sightings of Emily all around the bridge. And you would think that, like, because her story is rather sad, that she would kind of be like a sad spirit, but apparently she's more of a vengeful spirit, which is kind of disturbing. Because it does remind me of some of the stories we talked about last time. But she has these long fingernails apparently, and she slashes cars as they go across the bridge. she even attacks people. So people will say that they have like scratch marks or something on their backs, like after they've crossed the bridge.
Damn.
That one's a bit rough. Like it does remind me of Annie's Road here in Jersey, but I don't know. This one seems a little bit more violent. Like Annie had a violent death, right, on Annie's Road, but it's a similar story of like, the sad thing. And it's kind of also like Mary Ellis, right? This whole like waiting for your lover and they never show up or they never return. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of freaky because like, I mean, there are stories like this in like a lot of parts of the country where you go across the bridge and something happens. But yeah, this is more violent.
Yeah, I mean, also with Mary Ellis, was she vengeful? She didn't. No, right?
No,
yeah.
There was no vengefulness. It was just sad.
Yeah, this one seems different.
Really different. Might stay away from this bridge. Might stay out of Vermont. I don't know.
Another Reddit user said, "Here in Chickamauga Battlefield, we have Green Eyes and Lady in White." So I looked into Green Eyes, and apparently the legend is called Old Green Eyes. And on Chickamauga Battlefield, which is on the border of Tennessee and Georgia, there's a ghost that haunts the battlefield in different forms. One is of a Confederate soldier, and one is of a panther with green eyes, hence the name of the legend. These two forms are so very different. And apparently it also stemmed from the story of a man losing his head to a cannonball. And he's also looking for his dislocated body on the battlefield. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that.
Okay. So he's missing a head?
Yeah, he got decapitated by a cannonball. So I'm guessing it was during a war.
Yeah.
Not just playing around with cannonballs just for fun.
So is it that there have been sightings of a headless soldier, basically?
No, I just see no, the sightings are just of the ghost, but that's the story. I don't know where the story stems from.
So the ghost still has his head?
It's a good question. I guess. Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, if he lost his head, so he's a headless ghost, or he's a ghost, like, that, like, his head is now there because he's dead. Like,
yeah. Because, I mean, one of the sightings was in 1976, and saw a man, was, like, 6 feet tall, had a head, had hair, so had a head.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, is it possible that maybe like the ghost sighting is a different person?
It could be.
Like headless guy.
The strange thing about this one is that, Old Green Eyes, I was
going to get to that.
Comes in different forms, like of a panther.
So, I mean, that's just like really fucking creepy. Like a panther though, with green eyes. Like, why a panther?
I don't know. I'm wondering, is it actually of a panther? Or I mean, is this the same ghost? Maybe it's multiple different ghosts.
Like, I've never seen anything with freaking green eyes. Like green glowing eyes or anything like that. That'd be disturbing. And I don't know. Something about the panther one is weird and creepy and a little more like evil to me than just like a headless guy or like the ghost of a Civil War soldier.
Why?
Why is it more evil or sinister?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a fucking panther.
Okay.
I mean, I love like Civil War reenactments and Revolutionary War reenactments and all that kind of shit. Like I'm a big history buff. Seeing the ghost of a Civil War soldier, I would probably think I'm hallucinating because, I'm just, because I'm here, I'm just imagining it and try and play it off like it's not really there. If I see a fucking panther, I'm no good anymore.
I'm no good anymore if I see a headless ghost.
Anything. A headless anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, it seems like Chickamauga battlefield has a lot of history because another legend is called Lady in White. And that seems like pretty much any other Lady in White urban legend. But that,
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Well, it's a female ghost that wanders around a certain hill on the battlefield because she's searching for her dead husband, who was a soldier.
I would assume so at this point.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they didn't get married like last weekend in the Poconos.
But yeah, that does seem like a pretty typical, especially even like just, I don't want to say Civil War era. I would say it's a very typical like sort of war urban legend kind of thing. It's always like, I mean, but that's like a common thing in a lot of these stories. Like I've noticed, even from the last episode, you have like the wife or the lover or the girl that's like waiting for the boyfriend or the soldier or sailor or husband, and he doesn't show up or he dies in battle, and there's like just this misery and despair, and then that misery and despair that she felt carries on into the afterlife, and now she's still around, with that same energy. I mean, except for obviously the one who decided to take a violent turn and like hurt people. But but for the most part, it seems to just be these really sad stories of like women waiting for their man. So the next reply we got was kind of a creepy clown story, which I'm not a big fan of clowns, but I'm going to try to get through this one in one piece. Before the clown outbreak within the last 10 years, when I was in high school in New England, there was a story of a girl babysitting who thought the kid had like just had a life-sized clown doll in his room. Turns out the clown was a real person and murderer. So the story goes. So John, you heard about this one too?
Yeah, this is super disturbing because this is also one of the more recent ones, right?
Yeah.
Like within the last 60 years. Like the clown person / killer could still be alive.
It just reminds me of John Wayne Gacy, and this is why I don't like clowns. But isn't it like based on something like legit?
Well, this one's hard because there seems to be a few different stories about an intruder, being in the house and a babysitter figuring out something's off and trying to protect the child that she or he is babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
But I did find something about a teenager babysitting for her family in Newport Beach, California. And she's in the room and there's a clown statue in the corner of the living room. She calls the dad and asks, "Hey, any chance we can just like switch rooms? Like sleeping, can I like sleep in a different room?" And the dad was like, "What? Clown statue? Get the kids, go next door and call 911."
What? Are you serious? Holy shit. Like, that reminds me of like, have you ever seen the documentary Killer Legends?
No, it's on my list.
Yeah, I think I told you about it. Like it does cover a lot of urban legends and like the true stories behind them. If you guys haven't seen Killer Legends, please check it out. You might be able to find it on Amazon Prime or something like that. But the guy who made it also made a documentary about Cropsey. So check that one out too. I don't remember his name, but he talks about urban legends where like, I guess like, what is the movie that I'm thinking of? Oh man, where it's like, there's the babysitter and somebody keeps calling her and like, kind of like threatening her and the kids and whatnot. And she calls the cops and the cops trace the call and they're like, "Get out of the house. The calls are coming from inside the house." Like that kind of thing.
That
And because that's like based on something that actually like happened. And somebody broke in the house and killed the babysitter. And like that's the, like a true story. And it's in the movie Killer Legend, so you can check it out.
Another Reddit user commented, "There's a mall here in my city in the Philippines where it was built on top of a cemetery. A radio jockey heard about the ghost stories about this place and wanted to call bullshit for the audience. So he went there himself with a friend and ended up watching a movie to see for himself if there were actual ghost sightings. The movie ended without any sightings. And as they exited the theater, they had small talk with the security guard saying, 'There's a lot of people watching this late at night, huh?' And the guard replied, 'Sir, you were the only two guests in the theater.'" This one is international. So I looked into it a bit, and this is modern day Harrison Plaza in Manila, Philippines. So apparently,
So was it actually built on a cemetery?
It was built on a cemetery, and it's one of the oldest, or it was one of the first malls built in the Philippines. Apparently, the cemetery was destroyed during World War II and cleared of the graves. And then they built the mall.
Wow.
How about that?
That's crazy. So like it's kind of like Poltergeist, but a mall. I love stories like that.
Yeah. Well, question for you. Would you go to the mall and shop?
Uh-huh. Yeah, of course.
You wouldn't be scared?
I mean, the fact that like you're in a theater, you see all these people, and the security guard, like when you leave the theater, he's like, "What are you talking about?" That would freak me out so bad. Like I don't know. I'd lose my shit, I think.
Yeah, that person's going to need therapy for the rest of their life.
Cause like I can see like shopping at the mall, right? Like if people are just blending in, like, oh, they're people. It's see like dead people walking around, but oh, they're just people because you don't know. I mean, maybe they don't have shopping bags. Maybe they're not dressed in the appropriate attire like they're not dressed in the fashions of the day. But I don't know, something about being in a space with like dead spirits for an hour and a half watching a movie is a bit much. Like, why are they also watching a movie? But that's a whole nother question, I guess.
Yeah.
Dead people do watch movies, I assume. I assume they see what's coming out. They're going to go see that new Tom Cruise. You're supposed to laugh, Chanti.
Okay. We had a great conversation with Tex about the paranormal and about cryptids. And thanks to everyone who sent in their stories about urban legends. I know I learned a few things.
Oh yeah, there were some good ones in there.
From all over the world.
Don't forget to check out Tex's podcast, Tex's Front Porch, as well as all the other podcasts they have going on over there at Trinity Para-Cryptid Research. And thanks to, everybody who submitted their stories. As always, you can like, subscribe, follow on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can listen to us, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Happy Halloween. Stay safe out there.
Happy Halloween, everyone.